Do these scenarios look familiar? From tissue chopping to the use of Singlish, Singaporeans' unique way of life is captured in a new book entitled On a Street in Singapore by local humour writer James Suresh. Targeted at tourists and expatriates, the book provides an insider view of Singapore, told through illustrations and witty dialogue.
It's a little bit of history, a little bit of culture, a little bit of food, a little bit of lifestyle, and also the peculiar habits of Singaporeans. For example, reserving tables with tissue paper. The tourist needs to understand what this is all about, so we explain the habits in a way that's humorous, so it's not offensive.
What makes Singaporeans so unique? James highlights 5 of the funniest Singaporean habits.
You go to a counter, they're very efficient. They tell you good morning, they tell you the name, they tell you welcome, everything in one line. And go to the hotels, the people are very efficient, they're very fast. But sometimes for a foreigner who's coming from a place where life is a bit laid back, it's a little bit difficult to understand. For example, at the table when you have a meal, at the end of the meal, everybody insists on paying the bill. Even if they can't afford it, they have to try and pay the bill. So this is like expected behavior, So I explained to the tourists that if you are here in Singapore and your host decides to pay the bill, it doesn't mean that he's very rich. Basically, it's courtesy. We tend to talk very fast. When I was in Shanghai recently, I was talking to a bunch of people and I realized they all looked rather lost because I was talking like a typical Singaporean. We speak very fast, so I had to slow down. Right, and I realized that that's one of our peculiarities. Singaporeans are very fast-moving. They eat fast, they talk fast. So we show a scene at a hawker center where if you are just sitting there sort of doodling or spending time on the table, then you have people standing around looking very impatient. Singaporeans tend to, have a certain lifestyle in the HDB estates, like at the community centres. I think the concept of a community centre is very new to some people. So we have things like community centres where, a bunch of old ladies could be doing Tai Chi in the morning or a bunch of boys playing basketball. So these are things, I think, sort of brings out the real Singapore.
On a Street in Singapore is available at all major bookstores and souvenir shops.